And I got him.
Yes. Well, hopefully David's able to join in. He was having some audio issues, some microphone issues, but
his microphone said enough is enough.
Can
what
you hear
about
me?
now? Oh, we got sound from David.
Oh, there's David.
Hello.
Been doing leg day?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Howdy ho.
No, I'm just a healthy, good guy. I take care of myself. Eat right.
Good.
Hey, you know what? Speaking of eating right, I wanted a snack, something that was a little bit sweet. So I had some grapefruit with honey.
Good job. That's very
Nice.
healthy.
And then I remembered grapefruit interacts with blood pressure medication. It can kill me.
Sorry.
Well, that'd make one hell of a live stream.
Yeah.
On the toilet?
I should do that. I should do that sometime.
I'll when my bathers are giving me a bath, I'll when we're almost done, I'll instruct them to go get me a snack ready.
When my
come out with my robe and
a bath.
Yeah, and I get like a cigar and a martini and some snacks and stuff. It's really nice.
Right.
Should try it that way.
You know what? That would be great, man. A cigar and an old fashioned.
Oh,
being bathed.
I haven't had an old fashioned in 2 weeks, man. Almost 2.5 weeks. Gave that stuff up for Lent, and I'm not missing it.
I made a pretty good drink last night. I don't know what it was. It was like I had some pineapple juice and some rum mixed with the juice out of some maraschino cherries.
There seems to be a theme here with fruit and stuff. And speaking of giving things up for Lent, something I did not give up for Lent was toys. And I found this. I was able to get one of these.
Is that new?
Yeah,
brand new.
I got one of those too. I got the entire set. Guess where I found it?
Ollie's.
Walmart. Walmart. Just like I said, it was going to be at Walmart.
I got mine at Rosscons.
You got it at Rosscons?
No. I got mine at the Louisville Toy and Antique Mall.
Oh.
And it wasn't stupidly priced. And then I also got Terry. I showed you this the other day, so they might make an appearance on my podcast. So act correct so you don't get the effects of the gas face, because I've got MC Search and Pete Nice from Third Base in the house with us today. Pick those guys up. It's my favorite, one of my favorite rap groups. And then some of the toys we got in the shop this week, which we would have got 2 weeks ago if I hadn't been on vacation. And I'm really loving these, is Big Lob and the Night Viper. And of course, I got Lifeline and Hit and Run and Mall Rat version 2 or whatever he's called in the other room. But I really, I like calling him Mall Rat. I love this Big Lob figure. Now, my best friend, he got his on Saturday, and I don't know if there's a run issue, but his Big Lob and his Lifeline were loose in the torso. Mine are all pretty tight. So maybe it's just like every couple ones or a random one. And then like he couldn't get the ball hand to do what it's supposed to do.
Couldn't get a hand on his balls.
I just got him in, hung him up.
And I stupidly had it on the wrong hand the other night. I was like, why is this? I was like, maybe that's how, maybe Big Lob is special that way. I don't know. But
ambidextrous.
At first I thought it was an AI Hasbro picture because of the way the hand was. But then I realized I had it on the basketball hand on the wrong arm. But no, these are really nice. I'm really impressed by these. And Big Lob is one of those characters. I think he's very misunderstood, and but he's very loved, and I actually like him quite a bit. And I was thinking how sad it was we never got to see him again in the cartoons.
Thing I wish they would have done is make that basketball be separate from the hand.
Yeah, I think that would have been good, and have a little peg inside of it to peg into the hand, like the football for Red Dog. Yeah, I agree with you. I think you could probably fix that if you really wanted to. People that were inclined to do so, like a Terry Ruin, Action Media, probably could fix that, because I don't think it should be on there.
Yep,
what was
not
that?
Me.
No, oh, you don't want to fix it.
Yep, that ain't a job for me.
All right.
So welcome, Toy Talkers, to Toy Talk. Now that we have all three of us are here, got the intros out of the way. There's Terry, I'm Dan, and that's David.
Hey,
And we are here
how's
to
it
talk
going?
about toys, comics, and all types of cool stuff.
There's a lot of news this week. A lot of negative news and a little bit of positive news. What do you want to cover first?
Let's talk about this movie stuff, man.
Well, that's where some of the negative comes from. So, all right. So they just set out to do a script, a preliminary script, and they had two writers that they sent it to. One of them was
Danny McBride.
Danny McBride.
So pause right there. I really like Danny McBride's stuff, but I don't think Danny McBride is geared toward G.I. Joe.
And then the second one is a bit of a trouble maker situation where he got in trouble for doing a lot of stuff, but he never actually was convicted, I guess, of doing any of that stuff.
So Max Landis,
yeah,
is tasked with creating a new G.I. Joe movie. Max Landis scripting. Yes, scripting. So without going into like super deep detail about everything, back during the Me Too movement, he had 8 different women accusing him of various things, from emotional and physical abuse all the way up to SA and the R word that we're not going to say on a live stream. There were no official charges filed by any of these people with police. That is how he faced no legal repercussions for it. He was blacklisted in Hollywood. He was dropped by his management. His management company dropped him. This guy basically went on to make a public apology for his quote unquote behavior and things that he had done to hurt people. If any of this stuff was factual, it should have been filed with police, but it wasn't. Anybody that does any of that stuff needs to face whatever consequences they possibly can. It sounds like he did face some consequences, but not to the fullest extent that he should have if he actually did the things he was accused of. That really makes me uninterested in seeing anything that he does with G.I. Joe. I also feel like with connections through his father, this may be like some kind of a redemption arc in his story.
And his Hollywood involvement.
Tell everybody who his father is.
His father's John Landis. He is a filmmaker. Let's see. What all did John Landis? John Landis sued Michael Jackson, apparently. Yeah, Max Landis wrote scripts for the films Chronicle in 2012, American Ultra in 2015, Victor Frankenstein in 2015, and Bright in 2017.
Let's
see.
All things considered, I think I would go with somebody else. I mean, it's like I have to remind people about OJ. He was not convicted of a crime.
Right.
That's how our system is. This guy, I don't know. It makes you wonder with all the recent Epstein-ish stuff that's come out, if maybe he wasn't part of it and they blacklisted him. Maybe he was. I'm still trying to figure out how to. Well, if you can get people for emotional, what'd you say it was emotional abuse?
Emotional abuse.
Okay, I feel like I could get both of you for that every week, but you know,
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that if you've never been a victim of emotional abuse, you cannot understand what it's like. So,
I can respect that, and I've had a little taste of that, but it's one of those like kind of like a man or woman in power sort of thing. And I don't know. It's just I just feel like we could do G.I. Joe could do better.
Well, the interesting thing about this is they're doing both of these scripts, and they're probably going to merge them together.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
So we'll see.
Now, I feel like Danny McBride's going to write a comedy script.
Probably.
Has he ever written anything serious or somewhat
Yeah,
I
serious?
don't know, man, but I love the Righteous Gemstones.
He's got some horror movies, a lot of horror movies. The
Really?
Exorcist. Yes, he's done quite a few horror films that are serious, but it's just that it's teen fodder, you know, that kind of horror. And I don't know, you know,
Well,
putting these
and then
two
also you got to
elements
think
together.
about this too. You got to think about this too with the recent development with Netflix bowing out of Warner Brothers and Paramount taking them over and having a more centrist view of things, which is nice. Maybe we can get entertainment, not propaganda, and get preached at. Maybe they look at that and say, "Hey, you know what? Let's do something a little bit better for this."
So just to mention 3 from Danny McBride, The Righteous Gemstones, which is a phenomenal show if you haven't seen it on HBO.
I know.
Vice
Yeah, I know.
Principals. I haven't seen Vice Principals yet, and Eastbound and Down is another one that I would like to.
His comedy is on point. He has great comedic timing. His characters he creates are funny, and they're just kind of enduring and just kind of, I don't know. I loved him in Tropic Thunder, Eastbound and Down. He's fun in Vice Principals. I've only seen a little bit of that, and the Gemstones when I've seen like clips. Um, I don't know, man. I'm like, let's just see what happens.
Yeah,
You know,
he
like
wrote.
everybody complained when Michael Keaton was Batman or was going to be Batman, and then when he was Batman, everyone kind of says he was the best one. So you never know. And maybe one of the things that they've had wrong with these movies is they don't get that like G.I. Joe kind of has some built-in humor. Like you don't have to have a yuck moment. It's just you got an Indian, a sailor, a guy in a blowtorch suit, you know, running and a guy with a wolf running around. There's kind of some comedy in that, but it doesn't have to be slapstick and just be kind of,
And that's
you
the
know.
thing. I think you're right about that, because if you even read any of the comics, there's some humor in these comics. There's a lot of death, there's a lot of destruction, there's a lot of people getting hit and hurt and all kinds of stuff. But there's some humor. You know, when you put Clutch and Rock and Roll together on a road trip, you know there's going to be some fun stuff and some angst. Whenever Shipwreck's going after, you know, CoverGirl, there's some angst and some fun stuff. There's fun things in there. When Dr. Mindbender's going all megalomaniacal, saying, "I'm gonna get the GI Joes," you know, it's fun. It's enjoying what you're watching, you know, and trying to get the humor out of that type of thing.
One of my favorites is the one with Quick Kick and Amber. And then like when at the very beginning of it, when Gung Ho is on Snake Island and he's running, and every time since I was a kid to now, I could watch it right now and I would lose it. Is when Gung Ho's running through the jungle and that snake comes down and he just punches it. I lose it every time.
Similar to the giant snake in the Snake Eyes movie, but no,
no, this was an actual normal size snake.
Is he an actual GI Joe fan that respects the property? Is the only answer that I'm concerned with. Danny McBride wrote the Underworld movie series.
Did he really?
Yeah.
All 6 of them?
I had no idea. No, he wrote the first 3, I think.
Wow.
Man, I mean, it sounds better than we can't have a hoodie.
Underworld Evolution, and then Rise of the Lycans. Yeah, he wrote apparently a lot of stuff.
So he's got a very eclectic resume. Well, and I think
I like what I've seen from Danny McBride.
Yeah,
and I just felt like it would probably be a comedy script, but I mean, maybe not.
I don't need it to be like the Starsky and Hutch remake with Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson. Like that's a fun movie. That I don't need G.I. Joe to be that.
If you're going to be a writer of a G.I. Joe script, you got to understand all the elements. You got to understand the military. You got to understand the camaraderie. You got to understand the world conquering aspect of Cobra. You got to understand the freedom and all that stuff. You got to understand all these elements in order to incorporate them properly.
I always thought the TV show The Unit was kind of like real close to G.I. Joe. They just needed the outlandish villains.
I'm just going to
SEAL
disagree
team
with you, David, for the sake of disagreement.
What?
I'm going to disagree with you for the sake of disagreement.
Oh, okay. Well, I think that was the problem with Snake Eyes. Is I think they didn't understand the character properly.
David gets the gas face.
They understood that it was a world. It was a world conquering organization. They understood the military aspect, the martial arts, but they didn't understand the characters properly. And I think that's a very important part.
Dude, Larry Hama gave it his blessing.
I know, because he wanted to change in the comics. He wanted to change Snake Eyes to talking.
Money,
that's
baby.
why.
Well,
so Snake Eyes talks in his series now. I bet you didn't know that.
That's a whole nother thing, the whole Larry thing, where he wasn't happy with they were going to make Snake Eyes Asian, and then they had a meeting with him, and then all of a sudden he got a nice fat check, and he was very happy about it, and said I always wanted Snake Eyes to be Asian, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of the character.
This money. Yeah,
you know, because the whole purpose of the character was he lost his family, in a sense, lost his country, lost himself. Well, he lost his family, gets another family, becomes one of the best of that family, loses that family, loses himself, goes back and becomes a recluse, and then his family's his teammates in his country. And that's the hope, and that's why he does what he does. It's not, you could have made Snake Eyes a black dude, Hispanic. He had to be an American. He had to be non-Asian because he has to stick out like a sore thumb, where they look down on him. Right. I'm sorry to say this, but in Japanese culture, they look down on other Asian cultures. It's just the way they are, and it's just their culture.
And see, I remember that being a key element of Snake Eyes' backstory, was that he was basically looked down on so much and considered, to be less than.
And he became greater than, but he was humble about it. Because there's the great thing in the I think it's issue 26, when he has the duel with Storm Shadow, and the two brothers, the Hardmaster and the Softmaster, are kind of betting on it, and Hardmaster tells his brother, the Softmaster, Snake Eyes let him win so that he wouldn't, his friend would not lose face in front of his uncles. He goes, that's his skill.
He had honor.
Yeah, and see, I think that whole movie it totally missed the point of it, and Larry Hama's gangster walk in the movie was cool, but that was about it. That the rest of that thing was just like, that's why stuff like COVID happens, because of movies like that.
Look, they've had 3 chances at bat. Now, in my opinion, they've already struck out. So what are they going to do with this? They've really got to go back into the fandom. They've got to get people that know what's going on and get them involved, like Marvel does with the writers and people involved.
I really liked the Expendables G.I. Joe that they put out.
Oh, the Expendables film with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone, John Statham, and all those guys. Yeah, those are great G.I. Joe movies.
Those are great Expendables G.I. Joe movie.
Yeah, they were great movies. I love those.
David, the second G.I. Joe movie.
Oh.
It was basically the Expendables.
I like that movie a lot better. I wish it wasn't connected to the one prior to it. If they could have did something to disconnect it, I would have been happy with it. 100%. I love
the fact that they killed Duke off in the first 10 minutes. God.
That's a whole nother story.
The Rise of Cobra, I remember seeing something about the script back in 2008, because I remember it was our very first few months owning the store, and it showed up on His Tank or one of those G.I. Joe message boards, and something had leaked out because of the writer's strike. And one of the primary plots in the movie, was the whole Rex, Hannah, Duke thing, which everybody thought that was a rumor, and it wasn't. And then another big plot was Scarlet was a virgin, and Ripcord was determined to fix that. And I'm like, why would that be a plot point in anybody's mind in a kid-based toy property movie? But
dude, I don't think it was. I don't think that it could have been. I don't think that there's no way, man.
And I dread it, Marlon Wayans. I dread it. I dreaded Marlon Wayans in that movie when it was getting ready to come out, and I thought he was one of the best people in the movie.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
I thought he did a great job.
Look, there are some really good things about that movie that I enjoy. I love the whole interpretation of Destro. Storm Shell's interpretation is good. I liked Ripcord, and that's one of my all-time favorite characters. And I liked him. I thought a lot of it was pretty good. It's just like they don't need accelerator suits. They are the pinnacle of their particular field. That's why they were brought together in G.I. Joe.
Since we're bringing the movie up, I'll bring up my pluses and minuses on it. And try not to lose my breath like David there. If you, I think it's a guilty pleasure movie of mine. I don't hate the movie, but I don't love it. There's parts of it that I like. I like Marlon Wayans. I think they cast as Scarlet perfect. Baroness was perfect. Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow, they were cast perfect. I think where we get the biggest problem is the cardboard cutout that was Duke. Had Channing Tatum had a little bit more charisma, or maybe they let him, I think he would have been all right. And I think I think what the cool thing would have been is to get one of the Hemsworth brothers, the Hemsworth brother that was in Expendables 2, I think would have made a great Duke. Now the biggest problem for me, the second biggest problem is accelerator suits. I think that was ridiculous. Somebody saw Iron Man and said, "Oh, let's make Iron Man in this." And then the second thing was, or the main thing was the Duke Cobra Commander Baroness thing. Like that was just really, and then the way they wrote it. So like when Duke first sees quote unquote Anna, and she goes, "You got to admit you had that coming." It's almost like we, the audience, are supposed to already know this backstory. Like, oh yeah, because they were a couple somehow, and she disappeared, and it's really, the editing is really weird. I thought Dennis Quaid was great as Hawk. Although Michael Bean's kind of my Hawk in my mind, or General Flag maybe. But
I think it was too much too. I think the team was way too big at that point. I think they should have had a smaller team, and it should have been pared down more. That whole big 15 layers of that. That's come on. No, I don't think.
And
so.
the other kind of minor things are, well, one major thing is, if you were approaching this as a newbie and knew nothing about it, and you wanted to get people into it, they did not really establish Cobra very well. And it felt more like the James McCullen movie, where I think Destro shouldn't have been even in it until the second movie. It should have been more about Cobra Commander and Baroness, and then we bring in Destro for the second movie, and that would have been really cool. Or we don't, because it's like, okay, well, we're creating Destro. Is he now Destro and he's in charge? And then now this crazy, wacky doctor guy is really Cobra Commander. It was too much of that episode 1. Like, it's really Queen Amidala, or it's one of her decoys. It's gay Uncle Palpatine, but and he's really Darth Sidious. It's like, cut the nonsense out. Just have it be Cobra Commander, kind of like they did in the second one. I thought they did him great.
I think that it would have been great to have Cobra Commander be an anonymous, faceless bad guy. Don't give him a backstory at first. Don't give him any of that stuff. Don't make him Dr.
Takes away the mystery.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, look, there's elements on all of these that I enjoyed, and there's elements on all of them that I don't enjoy. So they've got to get all the best elements, put them all together, come up with a really good character-driven story. That's what we need.
I like the second.
I'm going to go out on a limb here for both you guys and say that, and I've said this before about the toy line, but I'm gonna say that the G.I. Joe movie needs to be completely revamped. It doesn't need to be an 80s action star type movie. It needs to have all new people, maybe some existing character, or maybe some existing actors in the action genre. But I think that for the most part, they need to use all new people. Make it something built from the ground up. Give these people the same thing that Marvel gives to actors, and make it long lasting.
Yeah. I'm down with that. I mean, I would still use the characters we know, but I would not use any of the actors that were in it before.
Right.
But I would just pare it down.
We know.
Yeah, just pare it down, and less is more. Like, if you just look at Larry's Operation Lady Doomsday, I mean, that's a perfect script for a movie.
Yeah.
And just, I don't know what their idea of what this is supposed to be, but because every attempt they've done, it's just fell way short. I mean, I had the words for it. You know, in the Snake Eyes movie,
but
that was
that kind
absolute
of
garbage.
That kind of leads us into now the Transformers G.I. Joe movie. It's kind of been put on the back burner. There's like 5 Transformer movies in the works currently.
Yeah,
that was one of them.
Why has that been put on the back burner? Or has it? And this new movie is a part of that.
Well, I think the Bay movie is going to take the forefront, and then there's another movie after that that's really got some momentum and picked up with another director. So they've got 2 that are on a fast track, and then there's several other ones behind that. The G.I. Joe Transformers is one of those 3 that are in the background.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think a lot of what they do is they throw something out, kind of like at San Diego Comic-Con, for example. They throw something out to get that gasp from Hall H people, like, oh, you know, and then like, oh, look, see, there's people interested. Or we threw this out and the internet's talking about it. I think it's more likely that if they're actually doing two movie scripts and they're going to try to combine them, I think they're likely they're going to focus on the GI Joe thing. As far as GI Joe and Transformers, I think they've ceded that to Robert Kirkman and let the animated series do that, because that's going to do it way better, way more efficiently in every category, cost wise, talent wise, story wise, what you can do in animation versus real life. I'd rather see an animated show that's amazing, that makes me want them to do a movie, versus, oh, here's another half attempt at a movie. I like this part, but I didn't like any of this. You know, so I don't know. To me, it's an easy property to do. It would be easier to do GI Joe than it is Guardians of the Galaxy, and yet Guardians of the Galaxy was pulled off 3 times very well. You know, so I just think the wrong people are at the wheel.
It's like I said, every one of the films that they've done thus far in G.I. Joe, there's some really good elements. I think the actors in Snake Eyes were phenomenal actors. Andrew Koji, Ursula Cabrera, Golding. I think they had a wonderful cast. It was just the way that movie was made. The script wasn't great. They didn't understand the character of Snake Eyes, and they used that shaky cam that I hate in film. And so those 3 elements hurt that movie. The casting didn't hurt it.
When I first saw the movie, go ahead, Terry.
I was just going to say that I think that Henry Golding and Andrew Koji both were excellent in the roles they played. They were not Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. I think that Andrew Koji was more Storm Shadow than Henry Golding was Snake Eyes. But those guys both put a lot of effort into the roles that they had for that movie. And I know that Henry Golding really, really pushed hard for it to do well. And he did a lot of promotion, and he did a lot of interviews, talking to people and whatnot about it. He was into it. And that's what I would like to see from actors on a movie like this.
And that's the thing, you know, the actors and the people that were behind the movie, it wasn't for a lack of caring about the property and the movie and trying to give the best shot they could. It was just things that they didn't understand about the property that was the problem. They didn't understand.
Well, if you remember, when the movie came out, it was also a victim of circumstance. With the timing.
Yeah, that's true.
I went to the theater and saw with 2 of my buddies that are we're like in part of like a little chat circle with Joe stuff, and I knew I wasn't gonna like it, but I wanted to see it anyway, right? Because he's my favorite Joe, and we're sitting in the theater, and after about the first act, I looked over at my buddy, my best friend, and I said, you know, if you pretend it's an alternate reality, I don't think this is a bad movie. And then the second act happened. And when you find out that Snake Eyes is only there to get the Arkenstone or whatever for the bad guys, like somebody asked me, "What's the movie like?" I said, "Well, man, imagine if you watched the 2000 X-Men, and you know Wolverine hangs out with the X-Men, and he's secretly working for Magneto to get the Cerebro device." And I'm like, "That's what it was like." And then all of a sudden, after all this death and destruction, he's like, "Oh, you know what? Maybe Magneto was the bad guy after all." And then he, you know, deals with Magneto, and then Cyclops defending his family is the outcast. Like, just the whole thing didn't make sense. In the end, when they give Snake Eyes the costume and a bike and money, and I'm gonna go bring him back. You're the cause of all this. You betrayed the story
the
was
whole
trash.
thing was poorly since I watched it. I still believe that they took a stock script and just adapted it for GI Joe poorly.
Which
because
script?
if this was just a random movie with another title, it would have been perfectly good. It would have been something that I would have enjoyed watching at home. But watching it as a GI Joe movie, it just wasn't.
The funny thing that you say about that is there was a script, a Chuckles script, that had a very similar plot device where he had to get some sort of a MacGuffin or whatever away from Cobra and try to get it to the Joes before they use it, because it was going to be like kind of like the Infinity Gems. They were trying to build this Hasbro universe, and they were doing these MacGuffins in all the movies leading up to this mass device or weather dominator or whatever it was. And I think that Chuckles script got set aside, and they took elements from it and added it to this because it's very, very similar with the MacGuffin that the Arashikage is trying to keep from bad guys and stuff that had power and everything. So
then remember they were also going to do a Lady J Amazon show.
Yeah, that was
whatever happened to that?
And this is before everybody and their mother had Amazon. Like Amazon was still kind of like the net streaming wasn't like the main thing to do yet.
They were talking about a Lady J Amazon series.
I'm like, you can't even get GI Joe established right. How are you going to do a Lady J show? It's like just
and I think that's why they acted. I think that's why they didn't do it.
And there's been a lot of that stuff. Look at the video game is now gone, right? There was other video games planned and they're gone.
Hey, I read though that Snake Eyes game you were talking about is still in play.
It is, but they don't know what they're going to do with it. It's still in play. They don't know where they're going to go. If they're going to give it to another computer company to finish it, or they're going to release it the way it is, or what. But they did let go of like over 300 people from that division.
Well, I'd like to see them get it right and get it off the ground because it's a great property. I think GI Joe is just as viable as the X-Men, the Avengers. Justice League.
Hella Geek says that he saw it at the premiere in Hollywood, and that Henry Golding was so gracious and kind with everyone. And I remember feeling bad for him because he could only do so much for that movie.
Yeah. It was really the director. I put the main blame on the director because they used that shaky cam. They didn't understand the character's origin. He could have stepped in and said, no, Snake Eyes wouldn't do that. Or he could have got involved. Producers could have got involved, said, no, that's not the way Snake Eyes is. They could have changed some of that stuff before it got filmed. Or while
I thought that's why they brought Larry in.
Yeah.
But he didn't affect that.
And everybody's like, oh, Larry's going to fix it. Larry's going to make it right.
And he had no effect on it.
You know, and I agree. I remember seeing the movie, and at the beginning of the movie, Henry Golding had a nice little preamble before the movie. And I was like, either win, lose, or draw, the guy's a class act.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
You know,
I don't take anything away from the actor.
I think it'd be kind of cool if they brought him in as Quick Kick. No, I don't mean that. I'm just saying, like, he's got, because Quick Kick's supposed to be an actor, right? And stuntman and martial artist, and I think Henry Golding could pull that off if you did a movie, and I'd bring him in as Quick Kick. I mean, they're recasting Jason Momoa as Lobo, so why not? There's some really uncomfortable silence there.
You brought up Lobo and Lobo being recast as
I like Jason Momoa, and he's a great actor, and I think he does a good job and puts his best effort into things. I think it's going to be cheesy. That's just my gut.
Well, Lobo's supposed to be kind of cheesy.
Not the original Lobo, no.
Well, the Lobo that everybody, kind of, whatever.
Yeah,
I'd put Jason Momoa in GI Joe.
Yeah, I think he would make a really cool character. I'm thinking maybe a Roadblock or a Heavy Duty or somebody like that.
Yeah, so what we have here for the Lady J thing is that, let's see, shifting away from a TV project with plans to rework the pilot script into a new feature film. The project, initially developed by Amazon, Paramount, E1, and Skydance, was designed as a standalone story focusing on the covert operative and intended to connect a larger G.I. Joe cinematic universe.
And that's another back out of Hasbro is E1. They backed out of that and sold those assets. So it's a pattern with them. They get cold feet and they just scuttle whatever they're working on.
They lost $3.5 billion in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely ridiculous, man.
That was Chris Cox's first big blunder. My favorite guy in all of corporate America. He bought E1. All they did was change the voice actors on Peppa Pig and raise the price of the toys.
I'll just say
Hasbro on it.
I'll say another bad thing about this possible G.I. Joe film is that Bonaventura is still involved.
Is he involved to what extent?
He's a producer.
No, okay.
See, here's my thing. And Terry, you made a good point. The actors in Snake Eyes all did a great job with what they had. Yeah. I prefer the what's his name from Rise of Cobra and Retaliation of Storm Shadow. But be that as it may, I thought all those guys did a fantastic job as actors. The script, the writing, the directing, the producing was trash. And that's all on the back end people. Now, Bonaventure has been involved in 3 of these. And all 3 of these have been not that successful. I'd say it's just like a football team and a football coach. Hey, the Cowboys got rid of Mike McCarthy. Stupidly, the Steelers picked him up. But it's like after so many seasons, we're kind of like right here. We need to be up here. Sorry, we need to get some guy that produces this that maybe understands what's going on. And it gets the right team together. And maybe Danny McBride might be part of that. I don't know. I'm not going to poo-poo on him because he's a comedy guy. But because it sounds like he's written serious stuff. He's written horror stuff, as Terry said. And I mean, he's got pretty good timing. And sometimes comedic time. I mean, it's funny, like when comedians become actors, like Eddie Murphy, everybody says, oh, he'll never make it as an actor. One of the biggest actors of all time. Dave Chappelle, Martin Lawrence, Chris Rock, all successful. Chappelle really hadn't done a bunch of movies. He's done some movies, bits and pieces here and there, but like not like a leading guy sort of thing, like Eddie Murphy, Martin Lawrence, Chris Rock, Bill Murray, those guys.
What about Will Smith?
He doesn't cuss on his records. But anyway, so oh man, I didn't get a laugh out of Terry. Come on. Terry gets the gas face now.
It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting, but it's gonna be a waiting game. We're just gonna have to see how this all plays out. So it seems like there's a few fires in the
David's microphone gets the gas face. Ooh.
Hey, you know what? Coming from just a random guy that doesn't know shit about shit, maybe they should just reboot the entire G.I. Joe film franchise and give it an adventure team theme.
That would be different.
I don't know. I don't think it would do well because I don't think that kind of theme is attractive to the modern audiences. They want more big bang for your buck explosions,
you can have
profanity.
See, I disagree with you, David, because I think that's where they have failed 3 times because you don't need big budget special effects in a Snake Eyes movie. It's a guy who can't talk with swords, and we don't need explosions. Like less is more. What's a good example? Godzilla -1. That was less is more. It had a great story. You didn't have to have the whole movie about Godzilla, but when he showed up, it was impactful. It meant something. There was death and destruction. It affected people. You saw in a real way how it affected people, and it made the story great. They didn't have to have constant explosions and running and jumping and one-liners and all that. I mean, those type of movies have their place, and there's nothing wrong with them. Lord knows I love movies like that, but just give me story is king. Story is king. Write a good story. And then the one thing I will say real quick is that, and this kind of drives me nuts, is when I hear the fan base say, and I disagree with this entirely, G.I. Joe, these movies haven't worked because they need to make it a period piece in the 80s. I'm like, no.
It drives me fucking nuts too.
No, it does not. You can do it. Watch SEAL Team. Watch The Unit. You can do that sort of stuff right now. Just put in the outlandish villains.
But that's ridiculous because G.I. Joe was always 10 to 15 years ahead of its time. So, yeah, it aired in the 80s, but it was almost 2000 when that was supposed to be taking place.
If you look just in recent events, if you look last weekend when the Mexican cartels were doing their terroristic attacks, some of their guys looked like Cobra troopers. They look like because I said these aren't the police, these aren't the federales, these are the cartel soldiers. So you can do it where Cobra, that could have been Cobra, put a sigil on them and a red scarf, and boom, you're at the races. But it can be done, and less is more. You don't need constant explosions and accelerator suits and like some guy falling and flipping around in slow motion. Just less is more.
Man, I'm telling you, I think that an adventure movie is the way to go. Even if it's not an adventure team movie, an adventure movie is the way to go. Give him the name Joe Colton. Whatever you got to do, make him the G.I. Joe adventurer, the land adventurer, whatever. But if you look at some of the movies that have come out, like adventure movies, take Indiana Jones, for instance. Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls kind of sucked. But The Dial of Destiny, fantastic. Absolutely love that movie, every minute of it. There's another movie that's out on Apple TV called The Fountain of Youth. Fantastic. Another phenomenal adventure movie.
Yeah, I've heard that.
I love the adventure stuff.
Well, I think
I do too.
Terry, I think it'd be kind of cool
stuff. Jewel of the Nile and all that stuff. I love all that stuff.
Terry, I'm not opposed to your idea of an adventure team movie. I would kind of do it, and I would just call it the Adventure Team, or something, an Adventure Team, whatever.
Yeah.
Or like Templars, Mask of Mordred. Oh, wait a minute, that's something different. But like
National Treasure.
But do it in a way. Do it in a really spectacular way, and have it be a subtle G.I. Joe movie. Like you're not announcing that. It's like if you're watching, like, wait a minute, this guy's name is Joe Colton, huh? And then, like at the end of the movie, the government comes to him and says, "Hey, Colton, you're being reactivated. We need you to put together a spec ops unit."
I think a lot of people forget or ignore the fact that G.I. Joe exists outside of the 80s. It exists beyond.
It does.
Just pigeonholed into the 80s.
What are you talking about? The 1980s? We're still living in the 1980s, aren't we? It's 1986, right?
Right.
Oh, okay. You scare me there. I mean, I'm not sure how we're talking to each other on a mobile phone camera device thing in 1986. But
now, on top of this whole G.I. Joe thing, you got to think about the Paramount part of it, because the two guys that own Paramount now are trying to create some content based on like their big tentpole franchises and stuff. That's why they were able to work this whole deal out with Warner Brothers. They paid Netflix off $2.21 billion in order to get Warner Brothers. So they're trying to create these theater experiences again and come up with these action-oriented properties. And G.I. Joe is one of those properties, I think, and Transformers is as well. So Paramount is a big part of this whole situation and the equation.
So to touch on this comment here, the problem is finding which characters to use on both sides, Joe and Cobra. So if you take the elements that they want to use for most movies, you're going to have interaction between the two. I think that something along the lines of what they did with G.I. Joe Renegades, just having a small core group would be the best way to go about it. And then for the bad guys, you've got Baroness, Cobra Commander, Destro, and a bunch of troopers for all of them.
You just gave me an idea. So you could do a movie where like there's a mission. They allude that there's a larger body of G.I. Joe, but we're focusing on like maybe 5-6 people. They go on a mission and they get in trouble and they call for backup. And that's when you see the massive G.I. Joe army show up. Like, that's kind of like the neat surprise. Like, I thought you said we don't have backup. Like, yeah, we got backup. And then boom, they, you see they roll in and help out and then they leave. That'd be kind of fun. But yeah, I agree. Like, you should have just a core group. Just use your basic guys: Duke, Scarlet, Snake Eyes, Roadblock, and then I don't know, some random person, and then Cobra. I think I would save Destro for the second movie, because like just think like
I would like them to do similar to what they did with IDW with the special mission series. They did these quarterly special missions that were a group of Joes on these really interesting missions. And every one of them was completely different casts, different concepts and stuff. Maybe something like that. Every one of those special missions is a different film unto itself. And then they all lead to some big thing down the road.
See, I think that'd be if they were able to get the movies off the ground. I think special missions would make a great TV type deal, like 8 episode seasons, which they're different missions. So, like Special Missions 1, they're fighting narco terrorists. Special Mission 2, they're rescuing a oil sheik from radical terrorists. Number 3, they got to do something with China, and it all ties into that universe. But that to me would be the best way to use special missions. Have the GI Joe be your big tentpole movie, and then have like the little smaller missions with no name, like the underused characters. I think that would be kind of fun. Chuckles could be in one of them.
Retaliation, basically, right? Small core group for both sides.
And and something I thought
Rise of Cobra.
Retaliation,
and I think that they almost had it.
I think Retaliation. I think part of the problem with that was that 13-month delay. Because if you watch the director's cut of Retaliation, it's a pretty good movie, and it explains why RZA is in it and why this group is over here and that group is over there. They cut out 30 minutes to put in really lackluster 3D, and because Hasbro panicked and they thought, well, Battleship bombed at the box office because it didn't have 3D, and it's like, no, it bombed at the box office because it was Battleship, and it had Rihanna in top billing, and you had Liam Neeson saying, "You sunk my battleship."
Renegades is another one where Hasbro backed out, and the Hub for that matter. There was a second season. They already had a bunch of episodes that got were already ready to go, and they backed out of Renegade season 2. They backed out of Micronauts. They backed out of the Hub.
Man, they should have put season 2 out on YouTube.
Yeah, they should.
Hasbro's a company that gets whiskey dick. Not to be crude.
Definitely a way to put it, yeah.
But I mean, they can't perform, and it's like, come on, guys, like have the balls to get it done, win, lose or draw. I mean, you're either gonna, not to use a football analogy, you're either gonna have a good season or a bad season, but you're not gonna know until you get out there and play, and just be smart and strategic about it, and just get it done. Yeah, Renegades I thought was a cool cartoon. I haven't watched it as much as I have the Sunbow series, or Resolute. But I don't need a cartoon to be as violent as Resolute. Although I didn't mind it, but I want kids to be able to watch it.
Yeah, I didn't mind it at all.
I thought Resolute was like, wow, this is awesome.
I didn't care for the Renegade animation. It was a funky animation.
Well, they're trying to cash in on that the anime feel, which they tried really hard with Sigma 6. And in the Sigma 6 toys, I didn't mind those too much. That I just didn't like that they replaced 3 3/4. And then the cartoon was not very good. That cartoon makes
I like the modularity of the figures, but
I thought that was cool. Yeah. I thought that's like a good additional supplement to a line.
They were feature rich.
Yeah. But that cartoon made the Dick series like Inception or Citizen Kane.
Let's not go on to Deke.
I like Dick.
You do? Okay.
Do you not like Dick series?
I don't. I hate it. I absolutely hate
it. We have a friend that loves the Dick series.
There was a very good friend, and I give him hell for every time I talk with him.
There was a studio called Tops and Bottoms that was going to take over the cartoon, but for some reason it didn't work out. I don't know what happened there.
It's too expensive.
God, my jokes are just not landing today with you two.
I'm sorry, I was reading the comments.
Jeez, I like Sigma 6. Now, that's an animated series I really enjoy. I really enjoy Sigma 6, and I enjoy the figures. I enjoyed the concept. It was a lead-in from Vala vs. Venom and Joe vs. Cobra, led right into Deke, Sigma 6, and I think it was a good series. It had, 3 seasons. It did well, in my opinion. I like it.
I don't think Sigma 6 had 3 seasons. I think it had barely 1.
The Sigma 6 Red Ninja was a con exclusive, I think, one year. I got this from a friend of mine.
Hey, can I buy that? Can I buy that?
This thing has a huge parachute.
Yeah.
And it works.
Yeah.
But they couldn't
honestly
put a 6-inch figure in the classified series.
Honestly, I thought the toys
did 2 parachute figures, Snake Eyes and Duke. And they're really cool.
I bought a couple of the Sigma 6 back in the day because I thought the figures were cool. I just didn't want them to be the only figures out there. Like I feel like they were like a supplemental to the 4-inch line or 3 3/4 line. That would have been really, really cool.
It was a very good child's toy because it was a big bash and play, big guns, and they were
plug and play, and you know.
Yeah, I like them a lot. They're really cool. I have the first 2 paratroopers, Snake Eyes and Duke. I don't have the 3rd one. I have that.
I never did get Snake Eyes. I never saw them in the store. I got this at Toys R Us though.
I have them over there. I'd have to try to get them out.
But real working parachute. But they couldn't put one with the 6-inch figures in classified, even though these are like 8 inches and heavier.
I'm going to say probably another lame joke, but could you imagine some poor sap in an airplane and like, hey, it says the parachute works. Let's try it. You know, that's
they do
well, I guess he wouldn't make it to a lawsuit, but
I'm pretty sure that I put out a video, man, where I think I made a video about that Red Ninja and the parachute working.
You may have actually, Terry. I think you may have, but they have parachute drops at conventions like Toylanta, Joe Lanta. They used to do it at other shows, so you could probably use those Sigma 6s. But then someone would run up and try and steal it.
Probably.
Yeah, the 2018 JoeCon was very controversial with that. There was some really bad behavior in that parachute drop, apparently.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Hasbro and Paramount, they're going to be been together for quite a while. I think they renewed their contract to 2032, I think, or something like that. I heard there was an announcement there. They did their contract till 32. So they're going to be in bed together for quite a while more, at least another 5 or 6 years.
5 or 6 years. I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I guess they're pushing to put a movie out because the movie license is expiring or something. Kind of like what Fox did with Fantastic Four when they put out that made-for-TV Sci-Fi Channel movie.
Yeah, they tried to keep the rights, right? And it's not terrible. It was of its time, and that's the problem with it. But I don't think it was terrible. I think the Doctor Doom is a little bit over the top. Mole Man was a little bit over the top. But it's fun if you watch it. The bootleg of it, it's fun. I would like someone to take it and remaster it, similar to what they did with Star Wars when George Lucas did all the 3 remasterings of Star Wars. Someone remaster it. I think it'd be an interesting task to try to see what it could look like with good effects and actual realistic effects and things like that. I think it wouldn't be that bad.
Yeah, I don't know, man. The new one was really good. I enjoyed the new Fantastic Four movie a lot.
Oh yeah, it's great.
And Ivy, my daughter, she really enjoyed it too.
I still haven't seen it.
It had all the right tone. You haven't seen the new Fantastic Four, Dan? I can't.
No, I just haven't had time. I saw Superman.
I didn't like Superman.
I didn't like it either.
I liked it. I had a few issues with it, but I liked it overall.
I think Lex Luthor was too crazy in it. That's just my.
Oh, I thought he was perfect. He's very calculated. He's very methodical.
Whiny crybaby, in my opinion. I don't know.
When?
Towards the end, most of the end.
Well, yeah, because he lost. That was the good thing about it. Like he legit believed he was the good guy, and that he was right in his actions. Like you could see it. I mean, like that just he went from being a billionaire businessman that hated Superman to like, next time you see me, I'm going to be in that green power suit. You know, because I hate you for what you did. You know, because that monologue he gives at the end is, I think, pretty powerful. I didn't like the way they portrayed the Kents being Hicks.
Superman was too cheesy. That's exactly what it was for me. I thought it was too cheesy.
I think they were trying. I think one of the big things was they were trying to be real safe with him not being so broody, which I love Man of Steel.
Well,
That's one of my favorite Superman movies. But
Paramount's going to be leaning heavy into the Zack Snyder universe. They're bringing him back.
That maybe not. But
I think Henry Cavill is pretty much invested in the Warhammer movie or series that's coming out.
Well, he's got Highlander coming out.
Yeah, he's got Highlander. He's got supposedly Power Rangers, Voltron, Warhammer. He's like going to every license and doing a movie of it.
And Christopher Lambert even, I think, has a cameo in that movie, doesn't he?
Yeah, I just saw a picture of them together.
The other day. Really cool. Yeah. And I like that. I'm glad. I hope it's a different relative. I hope it's not Christopher Lambert's character. I hope it's another McLeod and they just do another villain. That works for me. But trying to redo Christopher Lambert or Duncan MacLeod, Adrian Paul, or the animated character or whatever, I think that's not going to work. I want a new
It's a total reboot. Batista's Kurgan. Or the Kurgan.
And see, Christopher Lambert had said something about, and I read this today or yesterday, that he'd said something about that Highlander shouldn't be rebooted, that it should just be completely redone, completely reinvented.
Yeah.
Or you just do a different story from somewhere else. Because if you listen to the mythos of it, there's different.
Right. There's immortals all over the world.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So. Well, I think the original Highlander is a really great classic movie. And I even like 2 for what it is, but it just gets a little kind of off the rails.
I watched both of those not too long ago and still was able to enjoy them.
The first one, yes. The second one is god awful.
Love the first one. I get so sad when that Queen song's playing and you're seeing his true love age.
There's no better soundtrack out there on Highlander. Yeah, it's the best soundtrack ever.
And I even, when I was a kid, dude, I used to watch the Highlander series with Duncan MacLeod, Adrian Paul, and Duncan MacLeod.
Yeah, that was a great show.
I used to watch that on the Sci-Fi Channel, and I didn't miss an episode of that.
Did you guys see the news where Dune 3 knocked Avengers Doomsday out of the IMAX thing?
No, I did not.
Yeah, I didn't really understand what all that meant, but they were saying that Marvel has really, really lost their clout. And I can't wait for a Dune 3 trailer.
Man, I want to like Dune a lot, but I think that for me, it just moves a little bit too slow, and it reminds me of